is an energy reading for Sirius business. So I'm going to start by surrounding us in some protective space and using my turquoise Okay, so right away the turquoise is blocking into some of these, this block that I think you were mentioning in your questions. In one of the questions where you were talking about your psychic abilities and a block that you had with that, because when I come towards the left hand, there's a block at the left hand, and the left hand, hands to me have to do with like something that you're doing, whatever you're doing. So this can be career, this can be creativity, but the left also is the feminine side, and it tends to have to do with our intuition. It can have to do with receiving. And then also coming up to the top of the head, there's a bit of a block. The block doesn't feel so much like it's in the third eye. It feels more like it's in the crown chakra. So this is still having to do with a block with receiving from your guides. It's not so much your own intuition as it is this connection with your guides. And that really is what helps your own intuition show up. And also that's what really helps you listen to your own intuition, because your guides are so connected with your vibration. Like they have a really similar vibration to the one that you would normally emit, since you're from the same place and you operate on more the same frequency originally, like in your natural environment. And that's why it's so good for you to be in the water. And this picture this new picture that you sent, oh my God, you like your energy just not even really like feeling it, just like looking at you in this picture as opposed to the last picture. Like anyone could tell, they wouldn't even have to be psychic, that you are just much more like present and balanced and more like fulfilled in this more recent picture. Whereas in your last one, you're more tired, you're more confused, you're just not as much in your element. Okay, so at the top of the head on both sides, that's not more on one side than the other, but just the top of the head, but then also this right hand or the left hand. So having to do with your path, where to go on your path, things like that. But that's definitely clearing. Like it's not bumping into like a block where it just stops. It was more like just kind of going through like a lot more slowly. Like it's kind of having to kind of filter through something. So it's slowed down, but it's not just like getting completely blocked or stuck on something and you have to like work it to get the energy to flow again. So it is definitely clearing, but that's pretty obvious. And from what you said in your last email with the scuba diving, that was not surprising, obviously, from what your guides were saying in the last reading, and just how much they kept coming in with water, 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 water. But just the huge shift from looking at this picture, like I know you were saying, wow, I feel so much better, I'm not sleeping, this and that, just from drinking water and just being in the water. But there's definitely just your whole energy just seems so different in this picture. You just seem very aligned, whereas before in your last one, like I said, you look more tired, more confused. And so definitely just your guide saying, surround yourself in water and literally physically be in the water, and you'll connect to us more, align with yourself more. Just the shift here that I'm seeing is just so like apparent for you. Like you were really, really suffocating by not being in the water. You're definitely a fish. You're definitely a mermaid. So, let's see here. Okay, so I think we're gonna get to, if this will scroll down. Okay, scroll. What is my computer doing? Okay. Gotta use the arrows. Doesn't want to use the cursor for some reason. Okay, so I'm feeling like your guides are going to be starting with question 3. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and surround us again. And this time I'm using my tiger's eye. Okay, so there's definitely more of a block at the top of the head immediately when I'm using the tiger's eye. But tiger's eye is a little bit, obviously it's a different crystal from the turquoise. Turquoise tends to have to do with the throat chakra a lot, your creativity, speaking out, things like that. And obviously there's definitely a water connection as well with the turquoise. So there wasn't quite as much of a block with that. Now, the tiger's eye, though, tends to be, it does tend to be very intuitive, but at the same time, it tends to be very physical as well. Which makes sense because you had a block at the top of your head, right? But then it's also at the left hand, which, like I was saying, this tends to say to me that it has to do with something that you are doing. And then the tiger's eye is very physical. So this is all just surrounding what are you going to be doing, but your guides are just saying, it feels almost like part of this block is like a stress thing almost like this feeling kind of like running out of time, and feeling almost like you have to prepare all the steps, you have to know everything that you're going to be doing in advance, whereas your guides are saying the thing about water is that it flows, and water is pure intuition. It's pure emotion and it's pure intuition. So that's the thing about water. Water relaxes. Water flows. So they're saying that you're still not really completely like diving into your element if you're stressed out and you're trying to like plan everything ahead of time, where you know everything that you're going to be doing, because they're saying that that would fall through anyway. So you not knowing exactly where you're going to be is more being in an allowance. So they're saying that that's something that they would actually praise you for, to let go of stress and just allow, to just allow this higher energy to guide you. So they're saying that there are some things to clear still, but they're saying that that's just naturally occurring, and that's basically old blocks that you weren't really dealing with before, and you didn't know how to treat them, you know. And then they came through and they said some specific things, and you started doing those things, and now these side effects are disappearing. You know, you're not having to sleep as much. You feel more alive. You feel more in your element. Um, so you're doing the right things. And also they're saying to follow your own intuition as well, to follow your intuition, and because it will guide you as well as far as the current to go down when it comes to removing the blocks permanently and really efficiently, really like removing them. They're saying even though it seems kind of subtle, like in other words, it feels like something natural to do. It doesn't feel like some kind of struggle. So it definitely feels like a natural occurrence, even though it's shifting kind of quickly. But they're saying that it is shifting really quickly. Think about where you were before, you know, like even 4 or 5 months ago. So they're saying that it is happening really quickly. So you don't have to be impatient. You just have to, it's like they're saying you have to gather information as it comes to you, as it comes through. And that's just part of allowing. So when you just step back and you step into your element, which you're going to literally be doing when you are when you're going for this license that you're talking about, when you are obtaining this, and you're saying you're going to be scuba diving for almost 3 months every single day. So you're going to be very much in your element. So they're saying that this is very natural to you, and they've already guided you to this point. Like through the reading, obviously they definitely gave you a clue, right? Like, yes, you have to be in water to connect with us, to realign with yourself, to stop sleeping so much, and all of these things. You need to drink water, be in water. And the scuba diving was something that you had thought of, but you know, there was this huge confusion, and they were like, yes, this is the thing that you need to do, not these other, you know, various things that you're just going to get bored with that you were thinking of. So they kind of hinted you in the right direction, but it's still your intuition that guided you to this specific program, this specific island. So your intuition and them, you know, they've guided you to this point through your intuition. Obviously, the reading as well. They definitely were coming through with specific things in the reading that did help. But even, they're saying, even with the reading, they guided you to the reading, you know? So it's not that there's never some external thing that's going to help you or help you connect with your guides, like even you drinking water, right? This is an external thing that you are putting in your body, and so it's physical in that sense, and it's helping you though reach this goal of increasing your vibration, increasing your vitality, connecting to these water guides that you have and this water energy. But it's still your intuition that you keep following, regardless of whether or not there's something external that you end up using. It's still, you know, you were still following your guides. You were still following your intuition by doing that. So your guides are just saying to step back and allow. And they're saying that this should just feel like a breath of fresh air. And I think it already does. It seems pretty obvious, not only from what you're saying, but just like I said, even from the picture that you sent. Because that's literally all I think when I look at this picture. You just look like refreshed or something, like you've seriously taken this breath of fresh air that you like hadn't had. But it's funny because they keep using that word suffocating. It's like you were suffocating, not being underwater, not being in the water, which only a fish would suffocate not being in the water. So that's kind of funny for them to say. But that's why they're saying, you know, you're a fish, you're a mermaid. So they're saying that you're in your element, and this is just naturally going to flow. So they're saying that this stress is just this programmed thing. It's just this programmed reaction still that you just tend to carry with you. And they're saying that it's an old reaction, it's an old programming, because before you really didn't know what to do. So they're saying it's almost like stepping into this new thing that is just really different for you, and that can be almost confusing in and of itself to actually know where you're going and what you're going to be doing. As they're saying, even if you don't know the details for exactly later on, you still know, like you're still feeling, you know, this is your path. There's still that feeling that you're walking down your path, you're walking towards the right direction, and that you're secure in that, and that's something that you know. So you know that this is fulfilling you. You don't need to worry about how exactly everything is going to line up exactly perfectly in the long run. But you are going to be doing something with this, and there are like different avenues that you can take, which I think that was even coming up in the previous reading. So there's going to be, you know, there could be a lot of different avenues that present themselves, or that you just find naturally, you know, that you just come across, and you intuitively feel them out. And maybe you find different things, or you try different things, but just being in the water, they're saying, is going to cleanse you, and it's going to align you and realign you with them and your intuition. And so you're always going to be following that, but you're following that now. So another thing that they're saying is to acknowledge the fact that you are getting things, that you are improving in that way. So just realizing that you're not as blocked as you were before. And as far as the reason that you were blocked, it was just because you weren't doing these things. It's because your guides are very connected to water. So it's what they were already saying. There was this disconnect from really the element that you are. You know, you were stuck on land. You were depleting yourself. And for you, there's just something about your energy and your origin where it's like you're literally suffocating if you're on land for too long. You know, if you're not drinking a lot of water, and you're not going into the water. And this is a thing that you are most passionate about. That's very obvious. So because when you went into the water, you started feeling so alive and refreshed and rejuvenated, and these side effects that you were having started decreasing. And they started decreasing rapidly as well. So they're saying that you just had to be doing the right things in order to remove this block. And now it's removing, and it's almost like you kind of don't know what to do with it. So it's like you still don't really know how to not be stressed, or how to let go of this programming saying, well, I don't know everything. I don't know every little detail. But they're saying that you know quite a lot. You are moving forward. You know, you're moving on your path. Okay, so now they want to go into question 4. Okay, but the first thing that they're saying, I have my purple fluorite here, which has a lot to do with intuition, but also with like psychic protection. They're saying that this can also help like remove blocks as well, but they're saying that it's more about relaxing into your own vibration, and just realizing that everything is taken care of, that it's handled, and that this is all going to come through as necessary. And that helps remove this block. But as far as the purple fluorite, they're reminding me about something that came up a long time ago, which was this empathy thing. And you felt like you were being drained by people around you, and that was like a very empathic thing. But the purple fluorite, it does represent like psychic protection, and there's this feeling they're sending, almost like you being in your element has given you this stability. It's almost like energetically it kind of put this bubble of like water around you. They're saying that's even something that you can visualize that could help even more. But permanently, what fixes it is just being in your element, staying in your element, which obviously is water that they're referring to. And the fact that you're in water in this physical way is obviously amazing for you. But the other thing that they're saying is that it protects you, that it actually protects your energy field. So your energy field was like so open before. And there was just all this like toxicity coming into your energy field, but they're saying that that was the reason. Um, it wasn't closed off just because it's like it got so broken down from not recharging, because it needed to be in its own element, needed to be in water in order to recharge your energy. And so when it was getting so depleted and so broken down, and you're having to sleep all the time because you're not connecting to it here, like they said, and so it's like you're trying to almost astrally connect to your guides, you know, just so that you can kind of survive and like get by energetically while being here. And they're saying that it shouldn't feel like that, you know. You shouldn't feel depleted. So that's a sign that you're you know, that you're not in your element. And that you really need to recharge. That was what the sleeping had to do with. It had to do with you going out and you attempting to recharge in the way that your spirit understood that it could. But yeah, they're just stressing this again. So this is something that actually protects you. It actually protects your energy field to be in its element in this way. And it's a way that you can recharge here physically, so you don't have to keep going out and then just like exhausting your body in order that you can go out and meet your guides. Your body just gets exhausted all the time because of how depleted it is, and because your soul needs to do that. So this has been this energetic thing. It wasn't really a physical thing that was exhausting you. Now, they're saying that doesn't mean never think about the physical, like, you know, especially as you're cutting out animal products and things like that. It doesn't mean, you know, don't make sure that you have necessary replacements. I mean, there are some like vitamins and minerals that are most commonly gotten from meat, like B12 and things like that. But they're saying this is something that you can just research and do what you resonate with. So they're saying obviously incorporate the physical, but even cutting out animal products is you know, doing something physical to cleanse and recharge. And obviously even the scuba diving, this is something physically that you're doing to affect you energetically. So they're saying that that's why you do include the physical, because when you incorporate that, it's actually affecting you very much on an energetic level. And they're saying that the physical affects the energetic and vice versa. But they're saying, but at the same time, be aware that this has been completely an energetic thing. You do affect it by physical things. You know, you changed the things that you were physically doing and you started getting rid of these blocks. But it's still ultimately an energetic thing completely. And it was this lack of your energy, you know, being in what defines your energy, makes it you, makes it unique. But they're saying that this is something really important to get, that this has been an energetic block caused by just being physically out of your element. There is a feeling coming up too of you working with animals, like specifically dolphins and whales. I don't know if that came up during one of the readings. I think maybe it did as almost a suggestion, but they're saying that you don't have to go that route. It's ultimately your intuition, but that might be something that ends up coming up that you end up trying or looking into further. Because you do have definitely a connection to fish and a lot of species that are in the water. And then obviously, you know, dolphins and whales, because they're extremely aware and extremely telepathic. So they're saying that in some sense it can almost be easier to connect with those animals in the water. But they're also saying that for some people that might be different. You know, some people might connect to turtles, sea turtles more, you know, or they might connect to sharks more. So this isn't just because of how aware or how telepathic they are, but this has more to do specifically with you. Even though that is true of those animals, they are very telepathic and very aware, but someone can have a connection to another type of animals, and then their guides would come through and they'd be saying that. So there is something specific about dolphins and whales. Okay, so I think, okay, so they wanted to explain that, so are we getting into question 4 yet? So we talked about question 2, we talked about question 3. Okay, there is a feeling like you did have a lifetime in Atlantis, but it feels like in a different way than most people would have or than you might be thinking. This feels more, not really energetic, it feels like you were some other sort of creature, or that you, this may be another dimension or just another dimensional type of being. Okay. Okay. So there's this feeling. There's a feeling of being in this dimension and also being in another dimension, because there's this feeling like, yes, you are a being that resides technically in another dimension, but it feels like the Atlanteans were advanced enough to easily like communicate with that dimension and see into that dimension, so they were aware of you, like they were even physically aware of you, it feels like. But what your guides are bringing through is that you were actually in the water. You weren't a physical Atlantean like well, the Atlanteans weren't exactly human, but you weren't an Atlantean in that way. You were something that was living in the water. You were someone who was living in the water versus living on the land. But it feels like you were like living around Atlantis. Obviously, there was water, you know, all surrounding Atlantis, because it was an island. But they're saying there's even this connection with that and the fact that you are drawn specifically to an island setting for these months that you're going to be doing the scuba diving. It's not like you're going to a country that's on a continent, that's on like an entire continent, but you're going there and it's close to the ocean and you're going scuba diving there. They're saying there is something important about the fact that you're specifically going to this island. So they're saying that that's also going to be really refreshing for you and really uplifting for you at this time. So it doesn't mean that you have to always be on an island or always incorporate being on an island, but they are saying that it is connecting you to that specific energy. They're also saying that that's also part of the reason that this Atlantis thing keeps coming to you and why it's good to look at that. Just because there is like this correlation with what you're going to be doing now physically and where you're going. Just because, not necessarily because it's the exact same location as Atlantis. I don't know. I don't even know where this island is that you're talking about, but they're saying more so just because of the fact that it's a similar type of setting. It's an island. And you're swimming off of this island, and that's what you were doing before. You were swimming near this island. So it feels like you did have communication with the people there. It feels like especially more spiritually aligned people, like the priests and priestesses living on the island, and specifically the ones that were very connected to water and water elements. And there's this feeling like they were seeing you and they were communicating with you, and this was just this common thing. So it does feel like you were this other intelligent type of being. So it would have been more like a mermaid or something like this. Or even like a type of fish, but one that is like very almost human in the way that it can like telepathically, it can communicate and respond. But the difference is that those people on the island were very telepathically and emotionally and spiritually advanced and connected as well. So they could easily communicate in that way. And they could communicate back and forth between other dimensions, especially the ones in the community that were more spiritually centered and spiritually aligned. And then specifically, some of those people were very much connected to water and the water elements. Whereas they're saying like some were more connected to like the sun, and that was primarily the energy that they were responding to or communicating with or honoring. So they're just saying that it's not in the typical way that you had a life there. So they're coming back to this block with the intuition, and they're just adding that it's not, yeah, they're saying that it's not anything that you have to do really, other than just following your intuition. Because they're saying even like with this, it's not like in the reading for instance, your guides came through and said, go to this specific island. You know, you got that intuitively yourself. And now they're saying that there is this connection there, which may not even have come up if you hadn't have asked that. You specifically asked about that, which means that it was something trying to come through to you with your own intuition. And they're just clarifying it. So it's really just about acknowledging your intuition and just allowing it and just relaxing into your element and letting go and trusting. So they're saying that that's really the block, that really the block just has to do with trusting. And this like trust issue, they're saying, that they're saying is really apparent, that needs to be let go of. Now they're saying as far as this sweet thing, this is something that they kind of want you to delve into yourself a bit. Okay, you are processing energy more. That can still definitely be part of it. They're saying that there are different things to look into. Like, is there something physical that your body is actually requiring, that it's trying to tell you that it needs to get? Then that could be something that could be something to research, find out if maybe it's that. Try experimenting with adding some other things into your diet that could be in chocolate. Chocolate is actually a superfood. The raw chocolate, like raw cocoa powder, that's actually a superfood. It's very high in a lot of different nutrients, but in that form, it's very high in nutrients, and that would mean making something yourself, you know, that incorporates that, because who would want to just eat raw cocoa powder plain on its own? There's a reason that they add all of that sugar and this and that, but it doesn't have to be unhealthy. So they're saying it could be that. They're not saying that it is that. They're saying more find out what it is. So that's one thing that they're saying. It might be that your body is adjusting. Maybe it needs some more nutrients still, to help to process physical energies better and keep aligning with your energy more physically, they're saying. But they're also saying another thing to kind of experiment with and go into is it something emotional? And that really just means that when it comes up, it means like sitting with yourself. It means just sitting with yourself and kind of meditating. They're saying that you can meditate in the water. You know, you could take like a bath and you could meditate in the water and think about it. They're showing me like a blue candle. You know, you could light a blue candle, or have crystals around you. They're showing me like blue crystals. Did that come up in one of the other readings? So yeah, because that's something obviously that helps you connect and helps you align to your guide's current of energy. And so obviously with your own current of energy as well. And even colors are important, and surrounding yourself with blue, purple, you know, green, even colors that are in the water, but especially blue. It feels like blue first, and then secondary would be the purple. And then maybe after that, green. But there is also gold coming in. And I think maybe during one of your other readings, I think I might have gotten the color gold too at one point. But it doesn't, again, it doesn't feel as like essential as like blue or even purple. And it feels like these are very high energy colors. Plus the color blue and purple, these are associated with the crown chakra and the third eye as well. So of course it would also help you to realign when it just comes to removing that block completely. And then the blue, since it also has to do with water, is just going to help you realign in the way of relaxing. So not only having to do with psychic ability and the crown chakra and the third eye, but also just the idea of relaxing and being in your element. And there's a feeling also of just feeling like you're secure on your path. And that's something definite. So at least you're not looking for what specifically anymore. You're looking for more details and possibilities as far as what you can do with the scuba diving, with being in your element, water, but you're not really questioning anymore. Is this good for me? Do I need to be doing this to feel better and realign? You know, you're not going back and forth anymore between, should I try scuba diving? Should I keep doing Pilates that I kind of just hate in a sense, that I just don't feel like I'm getting anything from, you know? So you are certain about some things, so acknowledging that you are there, you are to that point, and that's definitely a good place to be from where you were. So it's good to trust and acknowledge that, and that is something, and acknowledging that you are fulfilled now, you are more on your path now, and things are easing up, you know. Things are easing up energetically for you. You are feeling more fulfilled. So they're saying to be grateful, and that is going to help you feel even more alive. And they're saying not that you're not grateful, but they're saying to just acknowledge more of the positive, and just let the stress go, or the worry go, because that's just a pattern that doesn't really have to do with the present anymore. Because you do know where you're going to be going for the next 3 months. You know, you do know what you're going to be doing then, even if you don't know right after. But that's going to be something that comes to you, you know. So yeah, they're saying to just trust that. Okay, but they're getting back to this thing of the emotional thing. So they're saying that again, that another thing that it could be, for instance, is your emotions. And they're saying that to just sit with yourself. You can meditate in the water, or, you know, or you should be connecting to water in some way. I feel like it's best to just meditate in the water, but if you can't do that, or you don't feel to do that, then, you know, still you can have a blue candle, you can have blue crystals around you, and maybe like listen to water meditation music. But there's this feeling that when you're meditating, it's always important to be connecting to water in some way, whether it's in a bath or you're listening to some kind of meditation music or whatever. Even if you had like your scuba equipment in front of you, as strange as that as strange as that sounds, it's just this feeling of a connection to that energy and a connection to water, because that's essentially meaning that's representing a connection to your guides, and it's representing your own flow of communication back and forth with them. So they're saying it's not just representing your guides and their frequency. It is, but not only. They're saying that it's also, the water is also representing this like source of this like stream of communication between you and them. So it's almost representing like this bridge. So as you sit and you meditate in this way, you'll get answers as to if this is an emotional thing or not, if this is maybe just some kind of emotional attachment that you're having, which it could be. So this is something that they don't just want to say totally right off and it just fixes everything. They kind of want you to explore a little bit and meditate on what this could be and just try some different things. If adding something physical works for you, great. Or if adding something emotional works for you, great. But one thing that's come through during most of the readings is that it's not necessarily bad to have something sweet at night. It just depends on what it is. It depends on the way it's prepped. And is it a candy bar that is pre-made and loaded with a bunch of unnecessary, artificial sugars, or even just sugar, So it depends what's in it. And it's not so much chocolate. It's just all the added sugars, if they're unnatural. Now, if it's an emotional thing, maybe you will feel to just cut it out entirely, though. Or maybe you'll feel to cut it out for a while. Now, as far as what you're saying about this feeling of heaviness, and this feeling almost like you can't burn fat. They're saying that it feels like this is going to lift over time, but there again, it feels like it takes time, because it still feels like it's kind of this old pattern that even your physical body is in, and that you just have to keep charging yourself energetically. You have to keep drinking water. Yeah, and again, they're saying, make sure that you're getting enough minerals, because when you're drinking, like if you're drinking too much water, you can end up they're saying you could never drink too much water. you specifically, you could never really drink too much water. But if you do feel like maybe adding some minerals, because water can tend to wash out minerals sometimes. So there's, these are just things, it's like things to be aware of. Just, research, make sure that you're getting everything that your body physically needs, obviously. But they're saying when it comes to the sleeping and the fact that you're not sleeping now, it's obvious that you were energetically depleting yourself before and that you're not now so much. And they're saying that that is just going to increase. That charge and that flow of energy is going to increase the more that you're in your element. And so this heaviness and this fat burning thing, they're just saying, think about all that time where you were depleting yourself and you were sleeping and you were feeling really, really heavy. And so they're saying that these are just these old energies that still need to lift. And that's something that's naturally occurring, they're saying, but that it just includes continuing these steps that you're already doing. It doesn't, unless you feel to intuitively, it doesn't necessarily require some added thing, unless your energy, your intuition and your guides just guide you to add something else or go somewhere else. But mainly this is just falling away. And even whatever your intuition and your guides start telling you, this is also something that is naturally coming to you, naturally flowing and naturally occurring. So this is just this natural stream of communication, and these blocks are lifting. But even this physical heaviness, they're saying, and how you're saying there's this inability to burn fat, they're saying that that has to do with how depleted you were before and how much you were sleeping, and that it really derived from that old block. That's really how it started. And so they're sending a feeling like that's something that is just naturally going to lift, and you just have to allow it and not really struggle to remove it. It's not going to be a struggle. It's just a matter of time and allowance, because when you were so open empathically and so depleted and you're taking on all these energies from other people, then obviously that did feel really, really heavy energetically. And sometimes your body obviously ends up reflecting the energetic. And with yours, you could especially see that when you were doing all this sleeping and everything, and feeling so heavy and so deprived. And they're saying that you're not now, but some of those old energies are still showing up. But they're saying that that's okay, because they are clearing and they are being removed, and to just allow that process. But at the same time, they're saying, you know, to follow your guidance, your inner guidance, and follow your own ability to intuitively receive information from your own energy and from your own guides, and to follow that as well. But they're saying this is a natural occurrence, and you've naturally ended up on your path, and you'll naturally end up, you know, completely understanding the details of where you need to go, and exactly what you're going to be doing with this path. But that's just naturally unfolding, so it's not something to worry about. Okay, so they're kind of recapping a little bit. Okay, so that's all that they have to say for now. So thank you very much, Sirius Business, for allowing me to do another reading for you. And as always, I truly hope that it benefits you. Thank you very much. Namaste.